Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Relationship Mastery Series. Principles to a Passionate Life in Relationships and Dynamite Families. I've gathered 25 wonderful experts from all over the world, and they're going to share their experience and some tips that will be very useful to our audience in terms of how to find, how to repair when necessary, and how to sustain having dynamite families and passionate life and relationships. And I'm very excited today because I have on the program with us Kathryn Alice. And I've been looking forward to interviewing Kathryn. I'm aware of her work and the wonderful things that she's doing out there. And so I'm really happy to share that with you. Kathryn teaches and writes breakthrough material for dating and love. She's helped many, many singles and also many, many individuals looking for their soulmate. Her approach is very, very positive, and she stresses awareness, and faith. Kathryn was the author of Dating, Love, and Soulmates, which is a column in Holistic Living magazine, which she wrote for until the magazine actually ended up closing. She's based at Agape Spiritual Center, and she was director of the crisis support team there for 6 years. Her book, Love Will Find You, which is a great title, 9 Magnets to Bring You and Your Soulmate Together, is in its 3rd printing. She has taught at many, many centers all over the United States. And I'm really glad that she's here today to share with us and to teach us what she has learned. And so welcome, Kathryn. I'm delighted you're here. And I'm going to say one more thing before I let you talk. Stay tuned, because at the end of the interview, Kathryn is going to be offering a free gift. And it's a wonderful gift that you'll want to be able to have access to. And I'll explain to you exactly how to get that at the end of the interview. So stay tuned. And again, welcome, Kathryn. So good to see you.
Thanks, Alan. It's so great to be with you guys.
Thank you. So I'd like to jump right in. I know that you have an interest and some really great things to say about chemistry in a relationship and how that affects dating, but also how that can be maintained in long-term relationships. So if you could.
Yeah, well, chemistry is important. Many of us want to be monogamous, and so the person you're with needs to have good chemistry, because that's the person you'll be passionate with, and so it's very important. I feel like it's one of the signs that it's your person, that's the right person for you, is if you have chemistry. As we all have experienced, chemistry is not enough. We need way more than that, but it's definitely an essential ingredient. And so I work with people on that. Some people can't even feel chemistry because they're locked in some way. And then as they go into a relationship, sometimes the chemistry can wane. There's an idea out there that somehow chemistry changes and it's not going to stay hot, but it can. And I help people keep it good that way too, as they go further into the relationship as well.
Yeah, well, that's really important. And I have that same. So I mean, you hear out there, well, the chemistry won't stay, and there's a very negative point of view out there that actually is a big mistake in my experience. And there is a way to keep that chemistry alive and percolating. And so anything that you could share along those lines, I know all of our listeners and viewers would love to hear.
Oh, yeah. Well, one thing is just what you said, that it's a common belief out there. And if anybody who's watching this has bought into that, I would invite you to have a new idea. And so instead of thinking, oh, the chemistry is going to fade, it always does. How about this one? That the 7th honeymoon is better than the first. Let's believe that and let's affirm that. And I find that to be true. When you're with the right person and you're growing together, then you know each other better. So the chemistry changes, but it can change in a really deep and delicious way. And so what we believe tends to act as true. And so if we could switch that belief that when I meet the right person or when I get this relationship back on track, that our honeymoons are just going to get better and better, and we're going to keep having them.
Right. That's great. And that's a very, very different mindset and extremely powerful. I mean, just that shift in that awareness that, don't buy into that just because a lot of people really don't know what to do. And so they say, well, it can't be helped. And you and I both know that's not true.
We can do things. There are different adjustments you can make to have the chemistry there. And even people who are not attracting people they're attracted to, they can make some adjustments to get a different result too. And find that person who makes their heart sing and gives a shiver down their spine when they hear their voice.
Right. That feeling there where you can't wait to get home.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So share with us some of what you offer your own clients along that line in terms of how to do that, how to sustain that and keep that alive.
Yeah, well, sustaining it, I find that if you build up resentment or build up unsaid things, it can be a real chemistry killer. And so for some people who think the marriage is completely dead and we're never going to have that again, they are astounded when we do some work together and we take away those resentments and we get things said in a good diplomatic way, not in an adversarial, like fighting kind of way, that it changes and all of a sudden they want to jump their bones again.
Right.
And they're feeling that. So when you work with it, it can really shift. But usually the chemistry dies because of two things. One, there's something in the way of it. They got in the way. Or two, there's a bad focus going on. And some people let their focus stray from how much they love this person and how much they appreciate them to other things. And that can really kill the chemistry. But it can come back pretty easily.
Yeah, that's the good news, that it can. And you and I have both seen that. And so we know it happens. And so that's very important for everyone to realize that. Now,
absolutely.
So say a little bit more about what you would recommend to couples to keep that going.
Well, the first thing would be the focus piece. I would ask them to make a list about each other of all the things they appreciate about each other again, and what a miracle it felt like when they came together and why they fell in love, and just capture that feeling again. Sometimes people get caught up in silly, mundane fights or focus on really trivial things and maybe even a power struggle. But when they get back to that, automatically you're in the vicinity of chemistry again. So that's number one. And then number two is they need to tell each other that. Do each other's face, you kind of ring that bell again, and all of a sudden chemistry starts coming back. And then the third thing I would have people do is to, from a place of love, not from accusing, not trying to be right, but just from a place of love, express some of the things that have bothered them and have gotten kind of weighted them down. Because when people withhold stuff and they're not honest, the chemistry will go. It just gets buried among resentful feelings. And so I have them start a more honest dialogue. My philosophy, and it seems to be true, is when you can have a pretty honest relationship that's beneficent, it's not argumentative, then the chemistry is pretty solid.
Right. Now, in terms of having that honest conversation, what tips do you have for individuals in terms of how to be able to have that in a way that is less likely to be threatening and to go to that place of just going down the rabbit hole again?
Yeah, well, I would have people get in a centered place before they do it. If they're really heated or reacting to something, it's not the time. it's just going to be like this, butting heads, and this person's arguing, and nobody's hearing each other. So it's not very constructive. So I would ask them to get in a centered place and wait till they're even distract themselves so they're feeling better to actually talk. And then when they do talk, just start with a big compliment and some nice things, and to say it in a non-threatening way. Say, I have felt this way, not you did this, you did that. It can't be a story. And a willingness to listen to one another in just a safe space, and really hear it and try to understand that other person's point of view. And when they do, it's clean. It doesn't have to be perfect. Relationships can be messy. And so there should be an understanding for some leeway to say a few things that may not be perfect or might be a little hurtful, and to understand that it's not super personal. It's really not personal. It's usually your own stuff that makes you build this up. But it really helps to be honest with each other and keep open communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Very important.
Yeah.
And even to frame it at times in a way of, I don't really quite know how to say this without it being hurtful to you, and that's the last thing I'm wanting.
That's good. Everybody write that down. That was perfect, Alan. Exactly.
Well, I've used that a couple times.
Have you? Yeah, exactly.
It works so much better than coming in with
guns a-blazing.
Yeah, I'm going to get you straightened out right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So having that, I mean, right away, if it's the whole thing is framed, and you're acknowledging that, you may step on a toe. You don't mean to, but you may. But know that I really didn't want to step on your toe. What I wanted to do is be closer to you.
Yeah, and I would encourage people who tend to be quiet about that and like overly diplomatic. Those are the ones who really need to express, because they've held stuff in. And it really affects the relationship, and not in a good way. And I know it's hard. One of my clients said, well, I feel like a witch with a bee. And I'm like, well, you have to be honest. You have to say it, or you cannot just think it's for the greater good of the relationship. And it actually will be constructive, because it just doesn't work to hold everything in just to try to make nice when you're not really feeling that way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think when the communication is coming from that framework, there are the moments, even if they get heated and the anger comes out, there's a way to be able to have that held a little better by both people. And also, if you notice somebody's been injured, to, as immediately as possible, shift the focus to helping that person feel not so injured.
Absolutely. And in my book, Love Will Find You, which is right there, it actually, I have fair fight rules in the last chapter. The last chapter is about having a solid relationship once you found your soulmate, and it's called A Relationship from Heaven. But I actually do have fair fight rules, and I talk about the levels of communication, because obviously, like, violence is a very low form of communication, and then arguing is it's definitely not as bad as violence, but it's not great. It's not very constructive. If we could get it up here, it can actually, when something comes up, it can make a couple closer than ever, and have the chemistry be even more amazing. So.
Right. Yeah, it's having that background of wanting to really know your partner. Which is so connected to intimacy, and that's connected to passion.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah. And I know from talking before that right behind you are a lot of pictures. And if you'd tell our audience what those pictures are about.
Well, this is my wall of weddings, and it goes way more than you're seeing right now on up and down and to the side, because I've had thousands of people who have found their soulmate through my work, or retrieved a relationship that they thought was going down the tubes, and we have a lot of babies born. And so I've been doing this for a while, and I like to put it up just to remind me, if I ever doubt, that I've done some good in this world. And I find it very uplifting. And
Yeah.
you might notice they're not all 20 somethings either. They're of every age, every race, every physical condition. Some are not like a size 0 for sure. And it doesn't matter. That's not a prerequisite to find love. And so I've helped all sorts of people find love. And I call it my wall of weddings.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that point you were making, so often when it comes to looking for your soulmate, people are downgrading themselves in such a way that they're not really supporting even within themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true.
That soulmate.
Yeah, it's really true. And if you're going to have chemistry, talking about chemistry, and you're going to have somebody you find hot, and I always say that the hottest person you meet is most likely to be your soulmate, because you're going to have chemistry. You have to be able to talk to them as an equal. And so many people get intimidated. They're putting them kind of up on a pedestal, and that doesn't work. And so part of the work to have chemistry and be with somebody with whom you have chemistry has to be to build yourself up and feel worthy of that. And so I do find myself addressing confidence issues a lot when I'm working with people.
Yeah, very fundamental. I agree. Yeah. Now, I know one of the titles on your website that really caught my eye was The Fastest Proven Way to Your Soulmate.
Yes.
So share that with us.
Well, when I first started doing this work, it came out of directing crisis support, in which we saw more people come in suicidal over relationships than love than any other issue. So I started teaching workshops, and people would meet sometimes and get married. We had a lot of marriages when I did more live events, and they would meet sometimes in 2 minutes, and there'd be something there, and they would never leave each other's side after that. It's not always, but a lot of times can be very quick. And I have kind of refined how to get it to be fast. You don't have to wait, and it can be a real whirlwind. When you meet, it's just, off it goes. I just had a client have that happen like 3 days ago, and they were in 3 days, they're like so in love, and just, she's walking on air. It's just amazing.
Right. And can you say a bit more about the elements about that, about what is it? Because I know when you're talking about that, and from your experience, you really are talking about the difference between something that, it's a whirlwind, but it's gone like a whirlwind also, and versus when it has all of that energy, but it has that capacity for last.
Yeah. Well, I've had a lot of whirlwinds that do work out. And one of the secrets is being up to speed with it. If you think it's pie in the sky, it's going to be. But when I work with people, we start getting the sense that I get this. And I tell them, say that. Say, I get this. There's somebody earmarked for me. Nobody else gets them. And once we're together, it goes the whole distance. And so I have a lot of experience of people, a couple who met like quite a few years ago doing my work, who ran off to Vegas within 6 weeks, and they have 5 kids. They've been together a long time. Like they do. And I think the secret to making it stick so it doesn't fizzle is connecting well, and also just being up to speed with it. Like, I do get this, and I deserve this, and believing that you can have it. It's pretty critical. So
it's that inner preparation, both with your mindset and then within yourself, to be really ready for what it is that you're wanting.
Yeah, and I work with people as they go into a relationship or start dating somebody. So sometimes we might have a thing that sabotages ourselves, and that then we have to deal with that. So it's when you're in the relationship to continue to hold that light so that you don't blow it or you don't sabotage it. So I think it's really hard to sabotage one.
So I'm interested, and you don't have to necessarily name all 9, but I'm very interested in your 9 magnets, a subtitle for Love Will Find You. Could you go over what some of those magnets are?
Sure. Well, the first magnet is to believe that you get love, believe that that person is out there. Now that speaks to faith. And when you start having faith, it's such a trust in the universe that it automatically makes you start becoming more magnetic. And so I tell stories throughout my book, Love Will Find You, to help people have more faith of great love stories, just very unbelievable ways they've met. And so I try to help people by giving them examples too. And so that's one of them that's very important. Along those lines, another piece of inner work, because I talk about inner and outer work, like dating, is to send out a soul call. And that's something I do with people, to their soulmate, wherever they are living and breathing on the earth right now, to call them forth. And that's proven very helpful as well. And I include it as a guided meditation. And I ask them to back it up by doing something concrete to kind of keep the invitation going. And so that's one of the magnets, to send out a soul call. And one of them is declutter your heart, which means gets rid of past loves, any attachments to anything that might keep love away from them, any blocks. That's one of them. To date differently is another. That's very important. And then also to get ready, because we have to assume it's the last of their single days. Love is going to happen any minute. And when it does, you disappear from the planet because you're so in love and your friends are going, where did they go?
Right. Now, to step back a step, in terms of getting rid of the clutter, which is tremendously important, how do you recommend and guide the clients you're working with to do that, to unburden themselves and unclog themselves?
Yeah. Well, we're kind of hardwired for attachment. And attachment, the worst attachment that'll keep love away is to another person, like an ex, or if you're coming out of a breakup or divorce, people can have a hard time. And so I actually have a release process I take people through. We use it on things like releasing the past. So it doesn't keep, color their, how they're seeing new people. They're not dragging their past, which is very heavy, or grudges or things like that. There are many, there's a lot of baggage. And so I have a release process I use that's been pretty effective. One of my CDs, Releasing a Person, is probably our best-selling product we've ever had because it's magic. People feel differently, and all of a sudden they get these crazy results after they go through that process that are uncanny. So that's like probably my best-selling CD because people need it too when they're coming out of a breakup.
Right. Now, what is that CD? So
it's called Releasing a Person. Oh, let me get it. I mean, it's just right here. I'll show it to you. Oops. Oh God. But if anybody needs it, this is Releasing a Person, and it's probably my best-selling CD. And I take people through a guided meditation to let go, to dissolve any attachments they had. And it really works. And then I give them tools to stay released, because release can creep back up on you and grab you when you're not,
Exactly.
it can come back. And so we want to stay released. And I show them how to keep released and things to do to stay released. So it's pretty helpful. And I did that. That was the first workshop I taught. And I just had line out the door the first time I taught it because people really needed it. And everybody was crying through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's a form of release to cry too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad to know about that. That sounds like a very valuable tool, and something I'll direct some of my clients to, because that's.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's $20, and all of a sudden your life is changed. So it's good.
That's a bargain.
Yes.
So, I may have interrupted you. You were talking more about the 9 magnets, and so could you say a little bit more about that?
Well, one of them, and this is a big one that I wanted to say too, one of them is to get rid of your fatal flaw. And you probably have had this experience too, Alan, but in my private practice, everybody who walked through the door thought they had something wrong with them. And it was like some serious thing, but it was sometimes I struggle not to laugh because it was not apparent. And they thought this one thing was going to keep people from them, their fatal flaw.
Right.
And particularly women, a lot of times it's physical. For men, sometimes it would be, how much do I make? Or, something like that, or I'm not enough of an alpha male. Like everybody has in their head, I have to be this, this, and this. Right. And so one of the magnets that's very important, and this, it speaks to confidence, is to get rid of the idea that there's something so horrible about you that it's going to leave people screaming from the room. Because it's not true. It's a fake idea, and it's definitely a big insecurity. And so I work people through getting rid of that notion, because that can hold love away.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, I'm noticing the time, and I'm wondering, is there if you could share one tip that you think could be something that someone could really use right away today that could make a big difference in their relationship or in their calling in the one, what would that be?
Well, I teach about something called scripts. And a script is something that you hand somebody, and it tells them how to treat you. And without saying a word, the minute you meet somebody, you read their energy, and you know more about them than we realize. Right. And so if you want a different result, look at what you're getting, and you can probably tell what your script is. It could be kick me. It could be I'm not available. It could be victimize me, like that. And if you're not getting a good result, it's something. So I would love people to find their script and then write a new one, the way they want to be treated, and start walking like they've got that script. And practice even like kind of mentally handing it to people. And you could actually change the way you're treated in a relationship or in dating or whatever stage of love you're in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a wonderful way to look at that. And I have the experience I have around that is also the same. It's remarkable once you shift that, how you begin radiating the beautiful person you are, and the people can see it because you don't have that cloud in front of it.
And then, everything changes. So,
Right. So before we stop today, I do want to take a few moments for you to share with our audience your free gift. And if you would go ahead and do that now.
Okay. Well, I am giving your viewers a course, an actual course that they can get. It has audio slides and also notes and some homework to find love in 10 minutes or less. And they can use it to do that. The same exact tools in that class can be used to retrieve a relationship that's fading. And I'm also giving them a second gift, and that is a soul call. We talked about that invitation to call forth their soulmate. And so a soul call, so that they can do it. It's just a 5-minute, very short, easy to do. So they can start right away calling forth love, or calling forth a better love in the relationship they're in.
Wow. Well, wonderful gifts. I appreciate you offering that to the audience. And for everyone, right after this video, there'll be a place where you can click. And when you click on that, it will actually give you access to these wonderful free gifts that Kathryn is offering. And I want to thank you so much, Kathryn, for being a part of this series. I've been looking forward to it, and time flew by as I knew it would. And I appreciate what you are doing out there. I know you're doing wonderful work, and the planet definitely needs it. And so again, thanks very much.
Well, thank you, Alan, for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
You're welcome. And I appreciate all of our viewers. And as we sign off, I just want to remind you, I'm Alan Darbonne, and I want to remind you that the planet needs your particular love and your particular light. So please bring your kindness and speak your truth. We all are waiting for that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.